Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we are going into an exciting data analysis project that is super relevant for businesses. We'll be working on customer retention analysis for an e-commerce brand. So if you're looking for a solid project to add to your portfolio, then this is one you don't want to miss out. This project is super important because businesses don't just want new customers, they want to keep the ones they already have. And that's exactly what we are solving in this project. We want to understand customer retention. Are people still actively buying from us? What keeps these people engaged? Are our promotional emails effective, or do customers just visit our site out of habit? These are the kind of insights businesses need to make smarter decisions. To make this analysis practical, we will be answering key business questions like, are our customers still active, or has it been a long time since they made a purchase? What factors influence customer retention? Do they engage more when they receive emails, or is it based on their website activities? Where are our most loyal customers located? How well are discount coupons performing? Are customers who use coupons more likely to stay, or are they just deal hunters who never returns? And how can we prevent them from leaving? What kind of customers do we have? How do their spending habits, frequency, and purchase amounts vary? These are the business questions we are going to be answering in this tutorial. We are going to be working step by step using different tools to bring our insights to life. The first software tool we'll be making use of in this tutorial is Python. With Python, we are going to clean our data set, analyze it, and build a machine learning model to predict customer churn. The second software tool we'll be using in this project is PowerPoint. Before we go into the creation of dashboard, we'll first map out the structure and layout of our insights, ensuring everything is well organized for stakeholders. The third software tool we are going to be using for this tutorial is Tableau. We'll create interactive dashboard to visualize trends, retention rate, revenue patterns, and others. Lastly, we are going to be making use of Canva. With Canva, we'll tell a compelling data story by putting together a professional presentation that walks through our findings in a way that non-technical people can understand. Now, I know some people might not be comfortable with Python, and that's okay. I've structured this video so that everyone can follow along regardless of their skill level. So if you're comfortable with Python and want to build the full pipeline from raw data to prediction, you can use Datasets 1 linked in the description. If you don't like Python, you've never used Python before, you don't know anything about machine learning, I would advise that you skip the first 30 minutes of this video and use the Datasets 2 in the description. And trust me, you'll still get a lot out of this video. By the end of this video, you won't just have another data analysis project, you have a solid portfolio ready project that you can confidently present in job interviews or even use to impress your stakeholders in real-world business discussions. So stick around, grab your data set, and let's get started. This is the e-commerce data set we are working with for this analysis. It contains the customer ID, the age, gender, location, last purchase date. That means the time the customer purchased the products last, the amount that they purchased, the frequency for each customer, how many times have they gotten a product from us, how many times has the customer visited our website, and how many times has the customer opened an email from us and also used our coupon, and also is the customer churned or not. So now let's go ahead, open up a folder that we are going to work with using Python. So I'm going to be using a Jupyter notebook file. First, we need to import all the libraries that will help us achieve this project. So we are going to be importing pandas for data manipulation, NumPy for numerical operations, matplotlib Matplotlib and Seaborn is mostly for data visualization. So we're going to be using sklearn, also known as scikit-learn, for the training of our model. That's for the machine learning part of it. So the train test split is whenever we want to train our model, we have to split it into two, right? We have to have a percentage of data that we want to train with, and then after that we are now going to test with the remaining percentage. So standard scalar label encoder will just help us change some columns where we have textual data into numbers. So for this project we are using the random forest classifier, and also we are going to check for the accuracy score for our model. That's like for the model evaluation. Let's run. I'm going to be picking the latest Python environment, and we got an error for Seaborn. So that means that I have not installed Seaborn before calling for it. So I'm going to open up my terminal, and then I'm going to type in pip install Seaborn, right? And I'll press enter. Is going to install Seaborn. Now let's rerun this. Okay, so we don't have sklearn installed as well, so we're just going to repeat that process. I kind of uninstalled my PC when I was making a tutorial video on VS Code and Python for beginners, so that is why I don't have them installed. So in case you don't have everything installed, just make sure you install everything in your terminal, then you can now import them for usage. So let's just create a markdown file to state what we are currently doing. So for this phase, we are in the preparation phase for our data. In the preparation phase is where you import the libraries you need to work with, because before we can even import our data, we need pandas library. That's where the function to import data is, right? So in the data preparation, we are importing the libraries, we are importing our data set as well. So we want to load our data set now. You're just going to declare a variable called file path, and I'm just going to save the file path. Go to the property section of the data set and copy the file location. Then I'll come inside the file path, inside the quote, and then paste it. You want to make sure that you turn all the backward slash to forward slash. You might get an error if you forget to do that. And then I'll go back to the property section and copy the name of the file. You can see .csv at the front. That is needed. So if your file name does not have .csv, then you may want to include that. And it doesn't really have to be .csv every time. It might be an Excel workbook file like .xlxx. So that's also fine. Just make sure you include it. So now I'm going to declare another variable, df. Df stands for data frame. And I told you that the pandas is the library where we can import data. So read underscore CSV, because it's a CSV file, and I'm going to call for the file path that I declared at the top. Okay, so I'm just saying that read this CSV file into the data frame df that I'm declaring as variable. So let's call for the first 5 rows of df and see what it looks like. So this is what our data set looks like, just what we saw in Excel previously. So add function is what we use to get the first 5 rows of our data in Python, right? Okay, so you can see all the columns are intact right there. Let's just close this terminal. Second, let's just check for the data type and also if there are null values in any of the column. So we use the info function for that. You can see we have 900, 900, 900, 900. That means the number of rows is 900, and in each of the column we have 900. Okay, that means we don't have null value. But I think we have like 800 in one. That means we have null value, or like 899 we have null value. So let's proceed to check the data type. Okay, you can see that is only for the last purchase date that we have object data type instead of date time, all right? Because it contains date. So we have to change that. But before we change that, I already know we don't have null values, but let's just do over Sabi. So I'm just going to use the drop any function, which means I want to drop the null values, okay? And then the in place equals to true is just for it to update the data frame, okay? That's all. So if you want to know more about the in place equals to true, you can check up the Python for beginners series anyways. So let's try to convert the last purchase date column to date data type. So I'm using the pandas data frame, PD, that's the abbreviation we used, and then I'm saying to date time, that's the function we are going to use. In brackets, you're going to put in the column you're working with, and then we are going to assign it to the variable for the column, so it just updates it. So let's check if the data type is changed. Okay, so let's use the info function again. You can see now that the last purchase date is now giving us date time from object that we had before. So let's see if we have any duplicate in our data. I mean, we don't want to work with duplicate data, we don't want to be biased. So I'll use this duplicated function. It's not giving me what I want, so I'll just say it should calculate the total duplicate I have. That's why I'm adding the sum, and you can see right here it's saying 0. That means there I don't have any duplicates in my data set so far. So I forgot to add another mark down there where my data cleaning started. Okay, so that's where our data cleaning started. We just want to be sure to identify it so that if you're submitting this file to anybody, they can see your process and understand what you did. So the next thing we want to do now is the churn prediction using machine learning, and we are going to use this for libraries that we imported for the training of the model. Okay, next we are going to be creating 3 features. RFM. R is for recency. Recency means the number of days since the last purchase, right? And then we are going to do for frequency. Frequency means the number of times a customer has purchased from us. And M stands for monetary. That's the total purchase amount so far. So let's get the current date that will help us calculate all of these things. So for the current dates, we are going to get it using pandas, that's PD, and then we are going to convert it to date time, like whatever the difference is, we'll convert it to date time. So I wanted to use the current date as today's date, like the day I made the video, but I had to check the data set and saw that would be like too much gap from the data based on the fact that I want to check for the recency. That's how recent it is. And the recency is what I'll use for my churn prediction. So I don't think it's okay to use this date. So I'm just going to change the date to 2024 anyways. So for the recency now, the formula for recency is the current date, yeah? So the current date minus the last purchase date. That's the formula for recency. So if you want to know how recent it is, that's today minus the last time the person got, the difference between the days, all right? So we're also going to tell Python to convert it to days anyways. So we're going to do the same for frequency and for monetary. So for the monetary, they're just like renaming the purchase amount to monetary. That's what we are doing. And it's more like we are creating new features. Creating new feature is more like we are creating new columns, something like that, yeah. So that's what it sounds like. So for the frequency, we're also going to be working with the purchase frequency that we have in our data set. A new feature is created. So you remember the label encoder we imported earlier? So it's basically for encoding categorical variables. For example, if you look at the location from our data set, we have like categories, like locations falling into categories. If you look at the gender, we have just 2 gender, and we can categorize them. We can turn them from being a string to like a number. So that's what we are doing in this part. So we are going to use the label encoder that we imported earlier. So let's start with the gender. So we want the male to be 1, the female to be 0. Do you understand? So anywhere we see 1 in the gender column, we know that it's a male. Anywhere we see 0, we know that it's a female. That's what we are trying to do so that we can train our model very well. We're basically going to do the same thing for the location. So we want it to also transform the location. So for the location, we are going to check. We can check how it transforms it anyways, like which location is it giving 0, which one is it giving 1, which one is it giving 2, 3, and on like that. So we can check. So let's try to check that. So now you can see that when we check, we have Abuja as 0, Ibadan as 1, Kano as 2, Lagos as 3, Port Harcourt as 4. So we'll be needing this when we want to create our dashboards. So next we want to undo outliers in the purchase amount column because we'll be making use of it. So we want to cap extreme purchase amount at the 99th percentile to prevent outliers from affecting our models. Okay, so we basically want to check if each value in the purchase amount column exceeds the 99th percentile. If it is true, it means the value is an outlier, right? So if the condition is true, that's why we are putting the where, not numpy.where, that's np.where. So we're saying if the condition is true, replace it with the 99th percentile value. Otherwise, it should keep the original purchase amount. So that's basically what we're saying in this code. So from our data set, we have a colon for churn, and we're just going ahead to visualize this churn distribution so that we can see it visually if we have more of churned customer or not. So to do this, we are going to be making use of the visualization libraries that we installed earlier, which is Seaborn and Matplotlib. So remember, we replaced the Seaborn as we renamed it to SNS, and we replaced the Matplotlib to PLT. So now I'm just going to put in the size that I want my chart to come out in, and I'm also going to state the column I'm trying to plot, as well as the chart title, and then plt.show means just show me what I've specified. According to the churn distribution chart that we have, we can see that we have more of 0. That means retained customers. That's the churn that came with the data set. Remember, we've not made our predictions yet. So this is the one that came with the data set. So that means 0 means we have more of retained customer, while 1 means it is churned. So we have less churned customers. So let's move on to our prediction. So next, we want to prepare our data for prediction. We are working with two variables. We have the features, all right? Features are like the input variables. We also call them independent variables. They are not dependent. That's what that means. And we have the second variable, which is the target variable. You see this target variable, they are the dependent one, or we also call them response variable. Now, the target variable, all right, it will be the churn prediction, and it will depend on the age, gender, location, purchase amount, purchase frequency of the customer, that columns basically. So the features are like the age, gender, location, recency, frequency, monetary. So these are the things that we use to determine whether a customer has churned, whether the customer is no longer buying from us or not. So I'm just going to save this feature inside a variable called X. So most of the time we represent our input variables with X, all right? And remember, input variable is the same thing as features. Don't get confused with too much terms. So target variable, which is the also known as the dependent one, all right, we are going to be using churn for that, and then we'll declare a variable called Y to extract the data from the churn column. So now the next thing we want to do is we just want to normalize our data, okay? We also call this standard scaling. So why do we normalize, or why do we use standard scaling? We standardize our numerical features so they have similar ranges, okay? So these similar ranges will help our machine learning model perform better. So we just made use of some of the libraries that we imported earlier. So that's where we are calling the standard scaler from. Okay, now the next step is to split our data. So when we are working on machine learning models, we have data sets that we set aside to train the model, and we have another one that we set aside to test the model. So now most time we use a larger portion of the data to train the model. So most of the time I use like 80% to train the model, and the remaining 20% data is what I'll be using to test the model. Okay, so we are going to call the train test split that we have in the library that we installed. Okay, so I'm just trying to say, okay, I'm going to get X train, I'm going to get X test. So training for the X, X represents the features, which is the input variable. So we are setting aside training data, testing data for it, and also Y that represents the target variable. We are setting aside the training and testing data for it. That's basically what we are doing. And for the test size that I put to 0.2, that means that I'm going to be testing my model with 20% of the data. So 20%, let's say we have like a data set that contains 100 rows, 20% will be 20 number of rows, like 20 rows will be used to test the data. 80 rows of the data will be used to train. So we use 80 out of 100 to train, use the remaining 20 to test the data. Okay, so next now, let's train the churn prediction. So remember we imported random forest classifier. That's what we are going to be using here. So, random forest classifier is a learning model that is made up of like multiple decision trees, right? And the part where we used n estimators equals to 100, it means that the model we use 100 decision trees to make predictions. Though more trees improve accuracy actually, but sometimes it increase computational time. So let's just go with 100. And the part where I said random state equals to 42, this ensures that our result is like reproducible. So next we are just going to fit our model, all right? We created the model. Now we are going to fit the training model. So the model will learn patterns in the data to predict whether a customer will churn, which means leave or stay. So let me break this down in a simpler term, all right? So imagine the model as a group of 100 persons voting, okay? 100 people, let's say 100 experts are voting, okay? So 100 experts voting is like the decision tree that we created, okay? So now each of the experts will look at different aspects of the customer's data to decide whether they will churn or not, okay? So now the final prediction is based on what most people, majority wins the vote, okay? So what most people agree on will be our final prediction. Now let's make our prediction and save it inside a variable y underscore pred. So now let's make prediction, okay? So we're going to use the predict function and then we are going to predict the S test. Remember, S test is like the testing data separated for input variables, okay? So after we have saved it in the variable ypred, we are now going to evaluate the model performance. We want to know how well our model is doing. So from the results we have from the model performance, you can see that we have model accuracy of 0.72. This means the model correctly predicted 72% of churn and non-churn cases in our test data, all right? So we cannot really judge with this alone. It doesn't, the accuracy, the model accuracy doesn't tell the whole story, especially when we're dealing with like imbalanced data. So we have to check the other classification reports breakdown to be able to show, all right? But for this part where we have precision recall, F1 support, we have 0. 0 means that the customer did not churn, has not churned, and 1 means the customer has churned. So we can see that there's 0.73% for non-churn customers, okay? That means the prediction, the precision was 73%. It was correct like 73% of the time, which is fair enough, okay? If you look at the recall on that 0, you see that out of all the actual non-churn customers, the model correctly identified 96%, which is good, okay? So F1 score is just like a balance between the precision and recall. It just shows us the overall performance, okay? If you look at under the 1 section for the churn, 1 represents the customer is churned. So we have precision of 50%, okay? So it was correct only 50% of the time, and the model, for the recall, the model only caught 10% of actual churn cases, which is very, very low. So that means that it missed most of the customers who actually left, okay? And for our F1 score for the churn, it means that there's a poor performance in predicting churn due to the fact that we have a low recall value. Okay, so for this model here, we have high recall for non-churn customers, which means the model is good at identifying customers. Then we have like a decent overall accuracy of about 72%, but we have extremely low recall for churners, which is 10%, and low precision for churners. So if you want to work on this, like balance this, in the future, we might try to use a different models, or we might adjust the class weights in like the random forest. So this is going to be included in my documentation. So now that we are done with our predictive model, we're just going to save the new data sets that we have, all right? We're going to save it so that we can now go and make use of it in Tableau. So I'm trying to create a new column for the churn prediction. So I'm going to save my model prediction into that column, okay? So after creating that column in my data frame, now I want to save my data set. So to CSV is the function I used to save. Remember when we wanted to import data, we used to read CSV. So when you want to save back, you do to CSV. And I'm going to state the name of the file, okay? And the index equals to false means that, so there's this index in Python gives to every data, like just numbering 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just normal numbering. So I don't want it to add it to my data set. So that's why I did index equals to false. So I'm just asking it to have a print statement so that when the data is saved, it just tells me that it has already been saved. And right on the left side, you can now see the clean data.csv. And this is the original data, this is the code. So if you open the folder on your PC, you can now see everything saved. So let's open the cleaned data.csv and see what it looks like. So you can now see that we've successfully converted gender, the location, to numbers like we did while working in Python. And we have also we also have a column for churn prediction now. The reason why we have to create our layout in PowerPoint is because sometimes our stakeholders have correction. You want to show them the key things you want to, especially when you're working with like a senior data analyst or you're working in teams. You may want to show them your layout before you proceed to go on with the dashboard. This saves you a lot of stress because going straight into the dashboard might, when there is correction, might be very tedious. But from the layout, everyone already sees the structure you're trying to create. They can say, oh, don't put this there. Or we want more insight. This is the KPI we want. So you'd have made the correction from your PowerPoint slide before you proceed to make the dashboard. For the PowerPoint, we are going to be creating the mockup. So I already created this mockup, like it involves like brainstorming process. I kind of do this in a paper and pen. I want to see the structure. I gain inspiration online too. I check for different dashboard sketch and I try to deduce mine from that. Okay, so this is the sketch I'm working with and this is just the entire process I'm going to go through. So it's just going to be a speedy process. You can just go through it, assign the values I assign, pick the colors I picked, and trust me, you're going to have the exact mockup. So yeah. First, we are going to draw out a shape. Okay, so after drawing out the shape, you just want to go to the right side where you have the format shape option. I'm going to give it all the shadow glow effect that will make it look like it's bouncing on the original background. So I'm going to add the color code to the file, and then for the transparency, I'm just going to set that. So just duplicate the containers and give the chart your dashboard a title. So this is just like creating the background, the mock-up to so this is just like creating the mock-up of what my dashboard will look like. So the reason why I do this is because when I'm working for a client, sometimes I want to show them the structure before I create it. So if they have any corrections, I'm going to make it on this mock-up before delivering the final dashboard. Do you understand? So from this, I can show them the KPIs, the everything I'll be putting on the dashboard, and they can tell me, okay, this is not so important. Okay, would rather have this. Just stand. So I'll have made every possible correction. So I'll have made every possible correction before going ahead to create the dashboard. Because trust me, it's more stressful to make corrections after you've made the dashboard because you'd have done almost every calculated field. Do you understand? But so yeah, that's why I do this, right? So we're just going to create this mock-up, all right? So we're just going to arrange it, align it, just like I'm using the first structure I created. So it's kind of hard to replicate that. So that's why I'm just looking at it to recreate. And then I'm going to have a text box for the dashboard title. So that's how you're going to basically create the container for every other thing. So I hope you understand the whole idea now. If you want a link to the mockup, you can check the link in my bio to get that. It also includes all the formulas I used for the tutorials. So with this mockup, I've structured how I want my dashboard to look like. So I can show my stakeholders these templates for them to approve before I proceed to create the KPIs and the chart. And if there's any correction, I can just make it on this dashboard layout before making the actual dashboard. So it makes the work much more easier, right? So I'm going to duplicate the mockup. In the second one, I'm going to remove all the text. I'm just going to leave the structure. So I'm going to be saving this structure. I'm going to copy the sheet, and I'm going to paste it on a new file, all right? So in the new file now, I'm going to save it as an image, okay? So in Tableau, this image is what I'll upload, not like I'm going to create this structure all over again in Tableau. No, I'm not going to do that. So I'm just going to use this as a background in Tableau. So when you are saving, you're saving as either PNG or JPEG. Remember to do that. Yeah, and this is what our PowerPoint slide looks like. Now that we are done with the PowerPoint slide, let's move on to Tableau to create our dashboard. So with Tableau, we are just going to upload the layout that we already have in PowerPoint. So if you don't want to go through the stress of creating the PowerPoint slide yourself, you can check the link in my bio to download the image. I'm going to be attaching the two images, the plain one and also the one with the description of how you're going to lay it out. And also, I'm going to be adding a Word document that will contain all the formulas used in Tableau for this tutorial. So now we are ready for Tableau. So first we'll be importing our data set into Tableau. Okay, so just click on, so I've changed the file for the CS from CSV to .xlx file to make it easier for me to import into Tableau. So next, just go to Tableau and then open the Microsoft Excel file from your folder. So after doing that, I'm just going to go through the data types to see if everything is correct. And as we can see, the data types are correct. Hash means number, and the one that looks like calendar means date. Okay. So now we are going to, on the left side, you can see all the columns that we have that we'll be working with in this data set. So we are going to be creating based on what we have in our PowerPoint structure. So first, you can see we have churn rates, we have retention rates. Okay. So we're going to be calculating for, we're going to create like a new column which will contain the churn rate, retention rate. So how do we create a new column in Tableau? We are going to use a calculated field. So go to the drop down box and click create calculated field. Afterwards, you can write the name of your calculated field. For example, I'm doing churn rate here. And in the calculated field, in the bigger space, you're going to type in your formula. So now I'm saying the total churn, that means the one that is one, that is counted as one, remember, divided by the overall customer, all right? So those are the customers that churned, okay? So we're going to also do the same for retention rate, all right? So I'm going to be doing 1 minus churn rate times 100 for the retention rate. Anyways, I'm still going to remove the times 100 because I want to add percentage to it. So I want my KPI to be in the chart title section. So I'm just going to drag the column to the detail section and then double click to edit it. First, let's type the KPI title. In this case, it is the customer retention rate. And then on the next line, I'll go ahead to insert the column I dragged to the detail section and add some formatting to it, like making the number bold, the font, everything like that. So I'm just going to format this other part. I'm going to change it to 4. I want to make it smaller. You understand why I'm doing this when we get to the part where we create the dashboard. So you can just follow along. So next, I want to add percentage to the KPI. So I'll just come here to format it. In the pane, I'm gonna change it to percentage, but oops, it multiplied it by 100 again. So I'm going in to edit the formula I used, remove the times 100 so it can be balanced now. So now let's just convert it back to percentage so it gives us the actual value. So the second KPI we have is the churn rate. We already created a column for that while we're trying to create the retention rate. So I'll just drag it to the detail, repeat the process, double click there, and then write your title. On the next line, you insert the formula, the column, and then you just do some formatting to it like we did for customer retention rate. And now we are going to change it to percentage. You just format it, and then in the pane you're going to change it to percentage. So just right click on the alphabet below, format it, and change it to the font to like 3 or 4 just to make it smaller. We've calculated the churn and the retention rate. So now let's go to PowerPoint to check for the next KPI we are creating for this dashboard. Now we'll be creating a KPI for total customers, and then we are going to connect that filter of churn status so that it's going to show the overall customer, and then show when we apply the filter, we can see the number of customers that are currently active and the number of customers that is churned. So we are going ahead to create another calculated field for total customers, and that will just be the distinct counts for the customer ID. So it should count every unique customer ID that we have. That's all. And then we're going to apply that filter for churn status. So I'm going to create another calculated field for churn status. Remember that in our churn column, we only have 1 and 0, 1 and 0. So that's why I'm creating this churn status, so that it will go to that churn column, and if in the churn column it is equals to 1, it will change it. It will give you a string data, like then it will call it churned. And if it is not equals to 1, that means it's 0. Okay, it's going to bring it out as active. All right. So this is just an if statement. I'm sure we've all used if statements at one point or the other. Then we'll press OK. So now let's drag the churn status to the filter section. I'm going to click all, that it should apply all of it, all of the categories to it. And then let's see the total customers. So now I'm going to show the filter, so it shows on my right hand side. You can see that. So you can see when I click on churned active, is now interactive. Let's click on this drop down to make it a single value drop down instead of showing me the multiple values. So let's see churn 263, all of the customer is 900 and active customer is 637. I'm going to insert the formula that I dragged into the details section. I'm going to put it in that title header and then reduce, just the same process we've been going through since. So next, we're going to be calculating the site engagement rate. For the site engagement rate now, we are also going to create a calculated field, okay? So the site engagement rate, I want to use the average site visits. That means how many times the person visited our website plus the average email opens, plus how many times the person opened our email, okay? So next, we are creating the KPI for total revenue, okay? So for total revenue, that is like very, very simple. We know that we are still going to create a calculated field for that to get the total revenue, which would be the total sum of the monetary. You remember we created the monetary column from the purchase amount in Python. So it's still the same thing as saying the total purchase amount, that kind of thing. So you just add it just the way we've been doing and then format it just the way you want. So let me just see if churn status filter works with it as well. Active, okay, we can see the revenue, active customer and churn customer generated for us. Makes sense, okay? So let's proceed to create the KPI for coupon usage rate. To do this, let's create another calculated field for coupon usage rate. Remember, we have a column in our data set that talks about coupon usage being 0, 1, 2, 3, like the number of times the person used the coupon. So in this calculated field, we're just going to say that if the person used the coupon, that means if the person ever used it, if the coupon usage is greater than 0, that means the person ever used it. Then it should give us the person's customer ID. So after it gives us, we now want it to count the distinct customer ID that used the coupon. I hope you understand. So like if coupon usage is greater than 0, that means the person used the coupon. For everyone that has coupon usage greater than 0, set aside their customer ID. After setting it aside, now count the customer ID that we have. So after counting the customer ID for people that use the coupon, now divide it by the overall customer ID. That's the total customers that we have, okay? Customer that use the coupon divided by the overall customers. So let's just drag it and then format it to make it so you can just format from the default property as well. Let's just turn it to percentage. As you can see right there, we just did that. So let's just format it the way we've done for other ones, and then it's properly formatted. Okay, so now we are done with all the KPIs that we're trying to create. And yeah, we've come a long way. So now we'll move on to creating the charts and then the remaining filters that we need to have. Okay, so now we are going to create the charts for churn prediction. That's from the model that we created. We're going to use that column that we have from Python that we predicted. So I'm going to create a calculated field for churn prediction breakdown and say that if the churn prediction column, that's the prediction that we did, is equals to 0, then it should tell us that the customer is retained. That means the customer has not churned, okay? Else, if the churn prediction is not equals to 0, then it should tell us that the customer is likely to churn. So this new column, let's add it to the column section, which is like the x-axis, and then we'll add the customer ID to the rows, change it to count distinct, and let's see the entire view. So that's what it looks like. So second, we are creating this customer segmentation by RFM. RFM means recency, frequency, and monetary that were created. So I'm just going to add the frequency as bin. So when we use the bin, we want to group continuous value into discrete ranges, okay? It makes it easier to analyze and visualize patterns. For the recency that we are going to bin, it means that the customers will be grouped into different time ranges since the last purchase they made. And for the frequency I'm going to bin, it means that purchase counts are grouped into like intervals instead of showing like individual frequency of purchase for each person, okay? So now we go on to add the recency bin to the column, frequency bin to the rows, and then the monetary to the colors. And here we have the tree map. I'm going to make it an entire view. We can edit the colors by clicking on edit colors in the color marks, and then you can change it to Change it to like green, blue, diverging, but I'm thinking let me use this color. So before you start creating your dashboard, you should have decided color anyways. Don't mind me, I'm still going to edit the colors later. So let me just copy this color code and then add it here. So I'm just going to clear this one and paste the color code and say okay, so it gives me the exact color. Okay, so now I'm going to use that color. So for the dark green areas, it shows the low spending customer groups. All right, that shows the low monetary value, and it's just like the customers have high recency. Basically means that these customers haven't purchased in a while. Okay, and for the blue areas, that means there is high monetary values. These are like high spending customer segments. So we check if the recency and frequency groups correspond to high spending. Okay, if the high spenders have like low recency, like they make recent purchases and they have high frequency, that means they buy like very high frequency, that means they are our best and loyal customers. So that's the interpretation for this heat map. So next we'll be creating the email engagement and coupon usage impact. This time we are going to create another calculated field. Don't you get tired, okay? So the earlier we created coupon usage rate. Coupon usage rate is the KPI and it's different from the coupon usage that we are going to create now. Remember the original coupon usage column contains zeros and ones, okay? So for the coupon usage we are creating now, we just want to say that if the coupon usage is greater than 0, that means if the coupon is used, then it should just print used. If it is not used, then it should tell us that the coupon is not used. So we are just creating a 2 categorical column in that new a new categorical data point in that new column that we're trying to create. So the new coupon underscore usage column that we just created, let's drag it to the x-axis and the email open to the y-axis, which is the rows. We're going to change it to average, and we're also going to drag the site visits to the rows and change it to average. Okay, so let's drag the measure names to the color so it gives us different colors for them, and then we are going to change the chart. We'll change the chart to a side-by-side bar chart and show it in the entire view. So now we can see that there's no much difference between the people that used their coupon and the people that did not use their coupon in terms of email engagement and coupon usage impact. It's just like very slight difference, okay? So that means that might not really be a thing for us. Next, we are going to create a tree map for revenue by customer location. So let's create a new worksheet. And then remember that we've turned our column for location into 0, 1, 2, 3 to numbers. So we are just going to check Python to remember the numbers assigned to each of this number. So I'm going to create a calculated field for location name. Okay, so now if my location name equals to 0 from the Python, if the location name is 0, it is Abuja. So I just want to assign the name back to it basically. So we just assign value to the different numbers that we have. So it's just like turning it back to our original data, because I mean we are done training our models. Okay, now that we've created the calculated field, we just say, okay, drag the location name to the x-axis, which is the column, and then we want to drag our monetary to the y-axis, which is the rows. So now we can see the location name by monetary. Let's change it to a tree map. Then we can see that Ibadan as the highest, give us the highest revenue. And edit the colors. I'm going to do that later. Let's proceed to creating all the charts before we now start proper formatting of all the charts. So now we are doing customer retention and churn trend using a line chart. We are going to create a calculated field for that. All right, so we want to say that if the recency, remember recency is like when last the person purchased from us. Okay, so I wanted to use 60 days, but checking the data set, remember this is a demo data, I can see that the list day is 350 days, so I'm just going ahead to use 365 days instead. So the customers that bought lesser than 365 days or equals to 365 days, those are retained customers. That means that the customers are recent. All right, but if the customer did not buy from us in the last 365 days, that means the customer is already churned. So that's like the condition I'm adding. But remember that the number of days you use for your churn will be dependent on what your company's criteria is like. So if the company wants you to consider 3 months as customers that are churned, so you're using like 90 days. If they want 6 months, you're using like 180 instead of 365. So the condition I just gave now is based on the data set I'm basically working with. Okay, so I'm going to create another calculated field for retained customers, And for the retained customers, so I want to say that if the customer status, remember we created customer status column. So if the customer status is retained, then it should give us 1. Else, it should not give us anything. So I'm going to duplicate that and edit it for the churned customer. So we have 2 categories: retained, churned customer. Last purchase date to the column and change it to months. We want to have a monthly trend, not yearly trend. We're going to drag the churned customer to the rows, and it's going to be the sum, okay? And then we're going to drag the retained customers also beside it to the rows, and it's going to be the sum. So right click on any of it. For example, the sum of retained customer. I'll click on the drop down and click on dual axis. So we can have both of the line charts in the same chart, okay? So now I'm going to right click on this right side to remove the header. Basically, I'm going to do that for the other side as well. Okay, so this is our line chart. Let's make it an entire view. So we can see from the right side, you can see that the pink or the orange color means the customers that are retained. So we have more of retained customers. Customers are mostly retained in December. Okay, so we have worked so hard for this. We are done creating all the KPIs and all the charts. Okay, so the only thing we are left with is creating some of this filter for age range, purchase frequency, and others. So for the date range filter, let's try the year to see the different years, so the monthly trend for the different years. So if I click on 2024, you can see we only have 1 data point in 2024. That means that according to this data set ended early 2024. So let's just inspect that in Excel. You can see that we only have data points for 1st of January 2024. So that means that making the year the filter will not make sense. So I'm going to change the chart to weekday. So it's going to show me from Monday to Saturday, and I'm going to edit the filter to show me for the months. Okay, so if I'm checking from Monday to Friday, when do we have churned customer, when do we have retained customer, then I can filter by month, since we only have 1 year for the data point. So now you can see for January, you can see for May, you can see for different months that we have basically. So for this filter, we may decide to apply it to all of the worksheets, and we might select certain columns that we want to apply it to. So this is the section where we do that. So let's just apply it to these few charts, okay? And then let's check if it works. So you can just show the filter. You can see now for the coupon usage, we now see what is going on by month. So we want to create filter for the age range now, okay? So for the age range, you can see that we just have our ages, like for the different customers. We want to create a calculated field for that, so that customers that are between 18 to 25, we're also going to say if the age is greater than or equals to 18 and the age is less than or equals to 25, then we want to say they are within the age range of 18 to 25. So now let's also create for purchase frequency for the filter we are adding. So we already created a column for age range. We are going to add that to the filter later. So for the purchase frequency now, we're just going to create another calculated field. So I'm going to call it purchase underscore freq, because we already have a column called purchase frequency, and I don't want the name to match up together. If the purchase frequency is less than or equals to 5, then it is low. If it is less than or equals to 10, it is medium. Otherwise, anything greater than 10 is high. Okay, so now we have that column created. The next thing I want to do is now add all of my filter. I've created all of my filter basically, so I'm just going to add them. So this is for the date range. Okay, I'm just going to show it and apply to all the worksheets. Now I want to apply to all of the worksheets, and when I create my dashboard, I can decide which one I want and which one I don't want. So I'm just going ahead to add the other filters. Okay, show them on the right hand side, edit them just like we've been doing, and then just show everything. Okay, so once I'm done adding all my filter, the next thing we are going to do now is to create our dashboard. Now we have everything created according to the layouts we have, which is amazing. So we are going to create the dashboard by clicking on the second plus on the down side of our worksheet. So now we are going to pick up the size for the dashboard. I'm going to be using a fixed size, and the width and height, I'm just going to make it cover the whole of the space. So I'm using 16 by 800. In the dashboard section, you can see objects. So click on floating. Okay, so after clicking on floating, then you can click on the image and drag it inside the dashboard space. So after dragging it, it's going to open your tab for you to pick the image. I want to fit and center the image and expand the image. So the image is the PowerPoint background that we made, and then I'm just going to expand it. Ooh, see what we have. So while selecting floating, make sure you're using floating. So while still using floating, you want to drag in your KPIs. So for the KPI, the first one I'm dragging in is the retention rate. And I'm just going to apply some formatting to it and then reduce the size so it fits in the container that I'm using. So I want to make it 0 decimal place. Yeah. So I want to add also a header to it that it means customer retention rate. Okay. And then I'm going to add color to it. I'm going to be adding the same color that we are using for our text from the mockup. So I'm just going to copy the color code and paste it here. So I'm going to add it to custom color so I don't look for it every time. So I just did that. So we're just going to add the colors now and apply then. Okay. So you may be wondering that, oh, this is not going to size the container and stuff. So what I'm going to do is select it, go to standard and pick fixed width instead. So after picking fixed width, I can increase the fonts for my value, right? I want to make my value bigger basically. Yeah. So the text doesn't have to be really bigger, so you can centralize it as well. And okay, right? So this looks good, right? All right, I'm just going to duplicate that. I'm just going to repeat the process for the other columns, and you can see when I drag the total customers in, this filter section also joins. So I'm just going to add it to the filter tab on the right hand side. Okay, so I don't want the filter section to affect the churn rate and retention rate. So I'm going back to my worksheet to edit that, remove it from the churn rate, remove it from the retention rate as well. So when I'm applying my filter from here, it's only going to affect the total customers and not the churn rate and the prediction rate. So while selecting floating, we are just going to drag in all of our charts from the PowerPoint slide. The way we arranged it, we're just going to drag it in and then do some formatting on them. Okay, so once you drag it in, you can hide row label, then you can change it from entire view to fixed width. I'm going to add some formatting, like the background color. I don't want it. I want it to take up the hash color from the image I imported. So I want to remove this side label as well. So I'm going to right click and clear it up. Okay, so I'm also going to change the chart type to, just double click, change it to churn prediction, reduce the size, centralize it, apply. Okay, so now you can see this is looking a little bit good. Don't forget we've not formatted the colors, so I'm still going to do that in very well when I'm done dragging all of my charts. But if you don't want to be like me, you can decide on the colors you want to use before you even start dragging into the dashboard, right? Just trying to make use of the exact color that I have for my PowerPoint. Okay, so I'm just going to drag the other charts, do my formatting. So you can follow along this formatting process if you'd want it to look exactly the way mine looks. So just follow the process in dragging the other chart. You can follow the PowerPoint layout to know exactly where to drag each of it. Okay, so I'm just going to do some formatting. The filter section dragged in together with this, so I'm just going to drag it back to the filter section on the right. For the measure names, I'm just going to edit it, and then I'm going to want to change the colors. You can just double click on each of the categories to change the color. Let's reduce the size. I might want to edit the names so that it's not going to take too much space. So let's change it to a diverging color, and I already added a new color as my custom color, so I'm going to add that. So let's change the colors for this churned and retained as well, so everything aligns, our colors aligned together. Okay, so let's just change the colors, apply. Okay, so now we can see that the lighter gray shade is the churned and the deeper shade is the retained. This looks better than before we formatted the color. All right, so normally I always pick my colors before creating the dashboard, but this time, maybe because I'm recording this project, I'm just feeling a little bit overwhelmed. So lastly, I'm going to now add my last filter to the last filter category that we have right there. And then I want to change it to single value drop down right here. Okay, and let's just fit it inside this space. This looks good. Yeah, Okay, so next I just want to format the header, just to make it use the same font I've been using for the other ones. So for 30 to 35, you can see the interaction on the chart. You can see the chart changing just because we connected it to the entire data source. Okay, so now next thing we want to do is tell a story with our analysis. With the old data set, what did we go through? What problem did we solve? Let's tell a story with it. Let me just quickly add $sign to the revenue, to the total revenue, so they know that it's something that has to do with monetary value. So that's already edited. So let's go on to the part where we have to tell a story with our data set. When I pushed the dashboard to Tableau Public, on my Tableau Public, I see that I still have some white spaces down my KPI. So all I just did was double click and then increase the font a little bit because it looks too small on Tableau Public. I don't know why. And then just enter twice, add 2 spaces to add 2 new lines underneath it, and also change the color. Some are taking black color, so I'm just going to change them to the original purple color. So this is how I make my presentation slides. I use Canva for almost everything. So now I'm just going to search for the topic I'm currently trying to work on. I'm just going to search customer retention presentation is what I'm looking for. Okay, so let's search that. So you can see it's going to give us a lot of designs that you can just edit. If you like any, just click on it, you'll be able to edit it. But let's check out this first presentation slide. Let's see what it looks like, if it's something we want to work with. It looks good. I'm just going to customize the template. Okay, so now this is what we have here. I thought I saw a picture there the other time. Okay, it's loading. Okay, so I can just change this, just double click, very easy to use here. So I'll just change this to customer retention analysis presented by, just change it to your name. So it makes the work easy for you. So let's just change it to my name. Okay, I don't know what this is. Okay, so maybe the company you're working for, you can just add their logo and the name of the company or something. It's been a very stressful 1 hour 30 minutes trying to put my insights together from the dashboard. So this is what it currently looks like. I'm going to still make some modification. There's still like little touches I'm going to do, but I'm about to resume work now, so this is where I can stop right now. So yeah, this is our front page. I have my table of contents talking about the introduction. I want to talk about data cleaning and analysis, my phase, then the predictive modeling, the key business insights, the challenges we went through, and the limitations while working on this project, then my recommendations and conclusion. So first, for the introduction, we talked about why customer retention is important. So one of the key points is that to acquire new customers for businesses is very, very expensive. Is more expensive than retaining the previous ones, existing ones. And low customers drive long-term revenue and brand trust. So understanding churn as well will help improve our business strategies. So these are our key business questions that we answered. And then we went through this data cleaning phase. These are some of the, okay, so you guys can see when I said I still have to edit this, I'm just saying it anyways. So I wrote that twice. Okay, so and I talked about my data source. Okay, so these are like the places I got the data from for the company. So these are the key metrics. These are like the KPI section, so I just included it to give like a key overview. All right, so just that. And then we have customer segmentation analysis, the RFM analysis on the heat map, I guess. Yeah, heat map. So they might not really understand it, so that's why I just added these key points. So I'm going to buttress it during presentation. So customers with high recency but zero monetary spend may need re-engagement. So, and then we have the churn prediction. So I talked about the type of the model I used for my training the model, and then the accuracy score, the key results from the prediction. And then these are the key business insights. I talked about the regional location. Ibadan is the highest, Port Harcourt is the least. So this is the action for each one. Yeah, focus marketing efforts on high revenue areas for maximum impact. Then we have coupon usage does not significantly impact here from what we saw on the dashboard. churn peak days are weekends and Tuesday, while retention peak is Wednesday. So business strategy should target high churn days to reduce customer loss. So can you imagine? I duplicated this again. So I'm still going to modify this anyways. So I added a picture, an image of the dashboard. Well, I can still show them the interactive one when presenting. So yeah, so I added the challenges and limitations that I talked about. So external factors influencing churn. We did not include external factors like our competitors. Does the economy also affect it? We didn't put that into consideration. So our model too, you remember when we're training the Python model, I talked about something that we can check for the model again. So those are some of the challenges. So these are the recommendations that we should target high recency, low monetary customers with personalized offer. Okay. And then we should leverage insights from top performing locations and assess long-term impact of discount usage. So this is the conclusion. And thank you. Okay, so if you guys want me to like show you how I present, or like everybody knows how to present, but let me know in the comment anyways. So it's been a long ride. Thank you. Oh my god. It's been a very, very, very long ride, and I'm so glad that you made it through to this section. What do you think about this project? Do you find it exciting? If you find it exciting, let me know in the comment section if you want me to create more portfolio projects like this, so that we can, when they ask us for our portfolio, we have solid projects to present to our stakeholders. And if you have any question, you can drop it in the comment section. I'll look through and give answers to the ones that I can. Thank you for watching and see you on the next video. Bye.